talking about a series of subjects which what we call are going kind of beyond the obvious. So we would like to raise a series of topics which are sort of at the front line, at the margins of what we discussed. We had a feedback from one on the tables in the morning, for instance, that the issue of AI hasn't really figured prominently in our conversations so far. So we would like to give the floor to 4 persons who will draw our attention to some of those issues. And we will do that in a particular way. Does anybody among you know what Pecha Kucha is or means? Who knows what, yeah? Do you know what it means, what at the origin of the word, what stands at the origin of the word?
I don't know.
It's Japanese. It's Japanese.
I didn't know. I thought it was something to eat. No.
Well, that could still be Japanese.
I think it's a way of presentation. And you use slides without or hardly any text, right? More pictures, and you have like 10 seconds or something, or 1 minute, I don't know, some limitation per slide, and do it really in an engaging way. I don't know if that's the definition, but that's what I know.
Pecha Kucha has been very popular. About 10 years ago, there were Pecha Kucha nights literally all around the world. Pecha Kucha is Japanese and means chit-chat. And people went out evenings for gala Pecha Kucha nights to listen to presentations. And you think, wow, how odd is that? People choose their evenings, the Saturday nights, for presentations. The point of Pecha Kucha is that every presentation has exactly the same format. Every presentation has 20 slides, and every slide is shown for exactly 20 seconds. So every Pecha Kucha presentation is exactly 6 minutes, 40 seconds long, and the presenter has no control over the slides. Meaning the slides are just with a timer being advanced after 20 seconds. That's a very sporty format and challenge. And we have 4 people who have accepted that challenge to really think hard, what is it that I want to say exactly? Because as you know, Wilson said, if I have 10 minutes to present, I need a week to prepare. If I have half an hour to present, I need 3 days. And if I have 2 hours to present, I'm ready now. So, we're having the pleasure to listen to 4 Pecha Kucha presentations. Unfortunately, 2 of the presenters, for various reasons, could not come here. So they have recorded their presentations. And we are happy to start with the first one from Tawanda Hove from the Gates Foundation, and he will introduce his subject himself. So let's hear what Tawanda Hove is sharing with us today.
So what happens when intelligence reaches the last mile? A very good day to you all. My name is Dr. Tawanda Hove. I work for the Gates Foundation, and I'm super passionate about transforming the lives of smallholder farmers, especially at what you call the last mile or the first mile. So a picture, of my background. I started off in the soil health and fertilizer space. I've worked with governments, I've worked with NGO, now in philanthropic funding, and I'm proudly born and bred in Zimbabwe, so I relate to the smallholder farmers. So from the Gates Foundation perspective, we see AI advisory anchored on digital public infrastructure as an enabling for unlocking low productivity, profitability, the lack of country-specific data, lack of opportunities and resources for women, and also the agri-food system, you know, especially from a nutrition-sensitive perspective. So historically, extension agricultural advisory services, if you like, have had challenges in generally in the knowledge transfer business from the perspective of budget insufficiency and absence of synergies, especially on the private sector, data fragmentation, language barriers, all causing the return on investment to be low. An interesting stat here from AgBase here is that there's been 1.56 billion raised for AgTechs over the last 10 years, but I'm sure would agree that, you know, especially for the ones in Africa, the impact has been quite minimal, to say the least. An additional, you know, data point to look at is on the meaningful use. 60 Decibels did an interesting study in Kenya whereby of the 56% of farmers using traditional digital agricultural advisory tools, only 27% reported meaningful use. This is what I can say maybe is repeat usage or seasoned companionship. However, with AI advisory, you know, some of these literacy issues are now being addressed. For example, through voice interfaces, through multimodal engagement, video generation. So now farmers can be now much more intimate in a way that they are comfortable with these tools. So what's the benefit? I think it's vitally important for me to articulate using examples in terms of in West Africa, in East Africa, and in India, of some of the initial evidence we've seen of, you know, how this is transformative at a smallholder farmer level. So firstly, I'll give the example of the virtual agronomist solution, which was deployed in Kenya and Uganda. They reported a staggering 60% yield growth. And this was for maize, and this is essentially a chatbot facilitated by WhatsApp, and the farmers converse and get the advisory. So the insights are so site-specific. Same thing happens, you know, to the farmer chat app by Digital Green. If you see that heat map on the right, you see the level of intensity and also the topics which the farmers are actually, you know, asking and inquiring about, which means that farmers are getting comfortable, you know, engaging, you know, with these tools because of the literacy issues. Interesting, extension is now demand-driven as opposed to supply-driven because of, you know, the availability of this intelligence. Take, for example, the chart on the right: dairy, poultry, coffee, potatoes, avocado, high-value crops, unlike the traditional field crops we usually push to farmers, you know, from a content side. Farmer data, business intelligence, and even policy, from a policy perspective, can now be empowered, you know, by insights directly from the farmer. So the farmers have a voice now and adequately inform strategies, because now this data is now accessible real time because of the conversational nature of some of these tools. Climate resilience, 9% harvested, you know, a 9% harvest growth, cases of the Amakrushi app in India during excess rainfall, you know, the monsoon rains, you know, reduction in the probability of severe crop loss in areas hit by inadequate rain, which means whether we have too much rain or too little rain, farmers now know what to do because of this companion. Radical inclusion, going back to the literacy point, Viamo and Gogo, you know, have had 100,000 of hits just in weeks in Nigeria, simply because, you know, of the voice interface, which, you know, can be accessed by a feature phone, of what we call in Zimbabwe, Kambodzi. This is radical inclusion from a conversational perspective. Now, smallholder farmers now actually, you know, train the model or contribute towards the training of the model through contributing data. I cannot stop emphasizing the importance of getting this farmer data for fine-tuning, you know, for reinforced learning, simply because farmers now have an incentive and can contribute in a meaningful way. So for industry at large, there are now stronger incentives for collaboration and sustainability, because there's so many databases like you'll see below that are needed. Even the platform, it needs a collaborative mechanism. Then delivery can happen in so many ways, but at least sustainability and collaboration is now being forced onto us. So to testify about that, here's the case of Nigeria. All those companies you see within Asterix have agreed to collaborate and participate in an AI-enabled advisory investment that we have in Nigeria, which has strong synergies right from the onset, hence suggesting sustainability moving forward. So As we go forward, what's needed? We need strong public-private partnership frameworks. Here, we really need to have a united front, shared data ecosystems, enabling regulatory environments, and a policy shift in terms of how advisory is done in terms of a hybrid, a combination of physical and also of digital. So, as I conclude, when intelligence reaches the farmers' fields, poverty barriers weaken, there's democratization of agricultural knowledge, the opportunity is not only incremental, or rather not incremental, but it's transformative. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm so grateful to be able to have this opportunity to talk to you about when intelligence reaches the last mile. Let's collaborate, let's engage, and I'm sure that our smallholder farmers are destined for a path of prosperity. I thank you. So what happens when intelligence reaches?
So, in the absence of Tawanda, I'm sure Richard will share with Tawanda what that has been evoking as discussions and thoughts and so on. It's a challenge to do that on distance as well. But yes, a warm thank you to Tawanda to share your practices at the Gates Foundation and what you are involved in now in this field of AI. So a big applause again for Tawanda to take with you, Richard, and to submit to him. We come to a second presentation, and I have the pleasure, this time it's a live presentation, Ama to join us here. Would you like to stand up here or down? You can choose what you feel more comfortable with.
I'm vertically challenged, so I think I should stand up.
Okay.
I'm good. Thank you. The Tree-speaking Akan people of Ghana have a saying, Tikro Enkwejina, meaning one head does not go to council. Yet when it comes to the people who grow our food, we ignore this very, very ancient saying. Spoiler alert, it is not an innovation problem. Despite the progress we've made in agriculture and innovation, there still exist barriers. You could cite growing population, increasing demand for food as one of some of the challenges that we face. But if you look at the ecosystem, the challenges abound. One theme is reoccurring: design without end users in mind. Experts like you and I providing top-down solutions. One size fits all for, unfortunately, context specifics that you and I sometimes ignore. But I'm the eternal optimist, so I have hope. The reason why I have hope is the fact that these challenges are not insurmountable. In the digital financial space, especially for my organization, Opportunity International, we have seen how innovation in the last few years has basically overtaken entrenched traditional systems of finance. I'll give you an example: mobile money. In the last few years, we've seen how mobile money has brought the unbanked into the formal financial spaces, creating identities, give them access to markets and credit, things that traditional banking did not do for them. But you and I also know that technology is not the only solution. If you ask me, until we put farmers at the beginning of our design, as part of our piloting, and also in the implementation, not to forget the constant iteration of our digital tools, we will not see the impact that we are looking for. In Ghana, there are many digital tools when you come into our market. But there's one thing that stands out for sure. Until we make sure that farmers are part of the digital solutions, we will make no progress. And more importantly, we will leave the old, especially women, behind. In Opportunity International, we have leveraged a certain tool that has really helped us. These are our farmer support agents. These farmer support agents are farmers within their own communities who are the best among the best, and we leverage their expertise to help other farmers in their context, meaning we are leveraging local knowledge and already local trust. So at the onset of our digital revolution at Opportunity International, at the onset of ChatGTP, we took our now Ilongizi AI farmer companion to one of our farmer support agents and asked them, is this too useful at all? She went straight and asked the question, how can I treat my soya rust? The answer she got made her light up. The question was not what herbicide to use, but what fungicide. Anna, our farmer AI support agent, turned straight to us and said, when can I bring this tool to other farmers? For smallholder farmers, they always think of the collective. It is not about the individual. It is about how do we all share labor? How do I ensure that my other farmers understand what the pricing system is, even though we do not have access to the recent numbers? For the smallholder farmer, trust is essential. You might be wondering, why are all of these fantastic tools that we have not working? It's because we have not built trust in the systems. For me, deploying systems across Africa and India, there are 4 core things that I have learned. 1, please do not design in your offices. 2, patience and time are going to be your strongest assets. 3, if you want to fail spectacularly, then please go alone. Finding the right partners is going to be essential. 4, do not design without the farmer. Many times, we realize at Opportunity International that bringing the right tool to the right farmer meant understanding the farmer's context. And so for us, context was not a feature. It was the foundation on which we built, because we knew from the very onset that if we built without contextual knowledge, we were building expensive paperweights. So for Anna and her other farmers, it meant constantly building trust within the process by which we build these digital tools. And trust, ladies and gentlemen, is not downloadable. Trust is relational. Trust sometimes means taking time out, sitting down in farms, and eating roasted corn, even though you knew at that point you needed a report to be finished. Trust also meant that we had to find the right partners. Partners who believed in the same vision and willing to go the last mile with us. That trust sometimes meant that you did not achieve the core targets you were looking for that month. But that trust meant that Anna had the tools she needed that solved the problem she was facing. For us as well, trust was relational, because trust meant we needed to find the partners who could give us the reach that we were looking for. That reach meant that we had to find ways in which our relationship with those partners was not transactional. So, the question is, why do good systems fail good farmers? And it's because you and I do not take time to build the relationships needed. The systems are not the problem. You and I are. Let us take time within our programming to ensure that the tools that we are building are serving the needs of the people who need it. Because don't forget, they have suffered cyclones and famine, things that you and I probably have not experienced. And they have ancient and age-old knowledge that can help us. Yes, let's address their pain points, but also let us remember that they have ancient wisdom, expertise, and information. The digital tools in their hands is just one of the many things that can help create systems that serve their needs. Thank you. Medase.
Thank you. Thank you, Amma. That almost had a poetic quality to it. Wonderful. A big round of applause for the message you shared, but also the privilege to listen to your presentation and your voice. Thank you. We are now having a presentation from Simon Gmeiner. Simon Gmeiner is working at the European Commission, where he is policy officer, coordinator of the team for the European initiative of deforestation-free value chains. And since he can't be here in person, he has recorded his presentation for us. Please.
Remotely from Brussels today on behalf of the European Commission's Directorate General for International Partnerships. Together with our member states, we are promoting and financing open source solutions on EUDR preparedness that address the needs of smallholder farmers through the Team Europe initiative on deforestation-free value chains. Nowadays, policy doesn't stop at borders or ministries. It reaches the farm level through data requirements, traceability tools, and digital workflows. Whether we intend it or not, regulation now shapes the data farmers record, how they share it, and whether they can use it to access markets. Every regulation eventually turns into a system requirement, a form, a dataset, a verification step. When policy is written, technical design decisions are embedded, sometimes explicitly, often by default. That's why regulation is no longer just a legal text. Modern markets are not unregulated. They run on rules about quality, safety, sustainability, and risk. Increasingly, those rules are digital. Access to markets now depends on the ability to participate in rules-based, data-driven digital systems. For years, sustainability was voluntary. Today, it is becoming mandatory as a level playing field. Due diligence is no longer about reputation, it's about access to markets. That shift fundamentally changes who needs data, how fast, and at what level of quality. EUDR makes this shift very concrete. It links forests, farms, and markets through data. That makes it more than an environmental regulation. It becomes a real-world test of our data architectures, governance models, and system interoperability. So the challenge is not only capacity, it's collaboration. How systems are structured, how data moves, and who bears complexity. Without collaboration, even good policy making becomes costly and exclusionary. When digital agricultural solutions are fragmented, farmers feel it first. Multiple platforms, overlapping datasets, repeated verification kills agility. It increases costs, slows adoption, and pushes complexity to the edge of the system, where capacity is lowest. Interoperability is a real game changer. When systems cannot talk to each other, data cannot be reused. Costs multiply, risks increase, and inclusion drops. This is not a technical side issue, it's the core scaling aspect. Digital solutions are only inclusive when supported by the right policy environment. Technology alone does not guarantee inclusion. Policy often determines who benefits, who is protected, and who is left out. By ensuring inclusivity and access for all stakeholders, policy plays a key role in reducing digital divides and enabling equitable participation. Modular, open systems allow innovation at the edges. Strong regulation builds public trust, which is essential for adoption of innovative digital solutions and scaling. Inclusive multi-stakeholder processes provide legitimacy, trust, and enforceability of digital solutions. Digital systems should expand access, not create new forms of exclusion. When data creates value locally, participation becomes rational, not forced. Inclusion does not happen automatically. It must be intentionally designed. Good governance prevents misuse of power asymmetries and ensures long-term sustainability of digital solutions. Policy measures can ensure that digital solutions are managed transparently and sustainably. While digital public infrastructure separates core public functions, identity, registries, consent, from market applications, it creates shared rails that everyone can build on without locking anyone in. Agile data also needs rules that travel with data and not with platforms. When standards align, the same dataset can serve multiple purposes: market access, due diligence, finance, and farmer services. Alignment turns duplication into reuse and costs into leverage. Sustainability doesn't require identical burdens for everyone. Risk-based, proportional approaches protect integrity while keeping systems accessible. That balance is essential if inclusion is a real objective. The public sector doesn't need to run platforms. Its power is in setting protocols, standards, and incentives. In other words, setting the roads so others can use their cars on them. This is where the Team Europe initiative on deforestation-free supply chains matters. TEI partners can support with aligning standards, financing, and infrastructure across partners, reducing fragmentation, and enabling country-owned solutions that work across markets. When systems are well designed, compliance stops feeling like a burden. It becomes momentum. Adoption accelerates, investment follows, and trust compounds across the value chain. When regulation aligns with digital public infrastructure and agile data, accountability scales, markets stay open, and inclusion holds. The real question is not whether policies shape systems, but whether we design those systems intentionally.
Thank you to Simon, and please transmit our thanks to him, those who regularly work with him, for sharing his thoughts from this angle. And we have a fourth presentation, and I have the pleasure to invite Learn More here to the stage. Please, Learn More Masanga from Cassava Technologies.
I decided to be vulnerable with you today and share my personal story as a new farmer. A while ago, I planted a hectare of watermelons, and after having studied all the metrics and profitability, I was all in. A week just before reaping what promised to be a bumper harvest, disaster struck. Out of nowhere, hailstorm came. It bruised and battered the entire crop. As I looked at my season's hard work scattered on the ground, I mourned at the difficulties that I had faced, even before the fateful storm. I struggled to find local agronomists, other watermelon farmers for tips and advice. I wished if I had a system that could reliably predict my weather patterns. Now I wished for a good Samaritan to help me recover the loss, someone to give me a loan to help me start over again, someone to comfort my weary spirit. This situation is not only peculiar to me. These are the many challenges farmers face on a daily basis. Fortunately, I think Agile and DPI, together with many industries, have tried to come up with solutions that can address the plight of farmers. Applications from banks, mobile applications, insurance app, AI chat platforms, and many other. But the challenge is all these applications, they reside in a fragmented manner, such that information does not flow seamlessly across the platforms, and support to farmers is either delayed, maybe it may be very foreign to their own realities, it's not contextualized. Not to mention even the time it takes for a farmer to get information that can guide their decisions, as most of these applications are in a siloed ecosystem or even foreign-owned cloud platforms. This fragmentation also raises concerns about data sovereignty, privacy challenges. I'm sure you have also been following how issues with regards to AI conversations are evolving. There is now talk of AI infrastructure for each nation to address these issues with regards to privacy concerns. To address sovereign AI for Africa, we have also seen massive investments towards local compute infrastructure, digital skills, startup sponsorship to ensure Africa continues to be competitive in the digital age. As Cassava Technologies, we have also partnered with NVIDIA to bring GPUs. This is massive AI compute to Africa, to 5 nations, where we are now able to train our local data with the local compute to produce local intelligence, which is more contextualized to our farmers. So this opportunity does not only open possibilities to farmers alone, it also opens opportunities even to the supporting industries and also bring advanced markets beyond national borders. Having models developed locally, for a farmer, it empowers them to make fast decisions and use data that they can actually relate to. Advice then evolves with seasons, not after them. So where data is processed affects who controls it. Local compute makes governance real and not theoretical. I will now dive deeper into the insight in terms of the technology stack that we really need for an AI application in general. So applications are just a tip of the iceberg when we talk in the digital landscape. What really makes impact is the invisible layer which lies underneath. So the invisible layer is an AI, for an AI application, requires massive amounts of energy to power and cool the data centers, the hardware chips that are processing the data. All these applications have to communicate with the data centers and also the cloud platforms or the applications that will be on top. So there's a reliable need for internet connectivity. There's also need for compute that is quite robust. We also need data connectors to actually push or ingest all the data from these various fragmented data systems, and efficient models that can actually bring the intelligence and insight which is now being used to make decisions by the farmers. By doing this, we believe that the adoption of such a robust ecosystem will enable Africa to expedite the creation of locally developed solutions which actually relate to our values, our traditions, cultures, and business practices. This will also allow Africa to actually enact guardrails against data or AI use. So AI models that are locally developed, they are more inclusive, relevant, and also affordable. So we believe that by doing all this and building an ecosystem for Africa, we are empowering our youth. Africa is the youngest population with median age 19. Empowering our youth with digital infrastructure will give the generations to come more opportunities and amplify the capabilities and possibilities for our future. This AI revolution requires greater collaboration among policymakers, energy suppliers, and digital infrastructure providers, to name a few. An African proverb states, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. We are inviting you to participate in this endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you, Learn More, for sharing your thoughts and your experience in cassava technology. And with that, we now move into the creative part of this afternoon. And for that, we need these boards, these 4 here. We're moving into a bit of a different space now. We're going to dig into the substance and the intricacies of specific ideas, practices, projects, concepts, and we're going to explore together what's in them for us to learn, to perpetuate, to move forward. So this is kind of a creative space we are moving into. Our topic of the afternoon is, can I have the first slide, please? The next one. Connect the agile farmer-centered insights better with interoperable DPI. So when we really connect the two fields and start leveraging the, maybe just move this so they can see it afterwards. They can't see from that side. What actions, concepts, or collaborations might drastically improve how digital systems work for farmers? So that's kind of the framework of what we would like to explore together. We can think about this on 3 different levels. We can think about use cases, so really technical projects that address a particular matter with high potential to move us forward, to leapfrog. We can also think about the level of conceptual frameworks. So if it's about improving and enabling environment, that includes governance structures, standardizations, agreements, and so on. We've seen how that all plays a role. But we can also talk about how do we promote the opportunities that lie in the collaboration of particular of this community, but also the extended orbit of this community. What are possibilities of collaboration for us in here that we can carry forward beyond this summit? So we're going to invite you in a moment, once we've done the organizational part, to propose topics, issues, questions which need deeper investigation, more investment of our time and brain power. And we're going to invite you to propose topics around which you would like to convene a mini session, a small workshop of about 45 minutes. It can build on things we've discussed so far, you may have had inspiration ideas in the sessions up to this point that you would like to move forward. You didn't have sufficient time to dig sufficiently into it. You may share additional practices or instruments or concepts which did not find the space to do so. You may want to explore a concrete experience, a problem you've encountered, and with a group of peers, dig deeper into those and try to unpack and resolve some of the matters through a discussion with some of your colleagues here. I think it's really the time to think about very concrete, specific applications or hurdles or tripwires, to talk about very particular aspects and kind of move a bit away from the big conceptual matters into the tangible ones. So anything where you feel we didn't have the time yet, but that should be part of the discourse here, this is the opportunity for you to nominate those. Anything that is really close to your work, to your practice, or to your heart, this is the opportunity for you to invite some of your colleagues and peers into a conversation. How is it going to work practically? We are going to invite you to think for a moment about what would you like to propose. You don't have to, but it's an invitation. If you have something, you come and get one of these forms. And on top, you put your name, and in the middle, you put a title, so people understand what this is going to be about. You can get the microphone and say, I would like to convene a session about, and you just in a sentence introduce your topic so that people know what this is going to be about. You don't hold your session right here, you just announce your session. And then you go here to the wall and you choose a spot. There is 2 rows in here, sessions that start in about 15 minutes once we have created the agenda, and the second slot at about 10 to 4. And there is different rooms and different tables. So we have in this room, we have 4 tables here in the back. Then in the rooms across the hall, Matetsi and, no, I can't read, it's okay. There are different tables and there's signs so everyone knows on which table what is being discussed where. And you can just stick that here onto the wall. And then you go back quietly to your seat and you pay attention, listen carefully. What are the other subjects that people are proposing? At this point, the agenda wall is still empty, but in 15 minutes, it will be buzzing with propositions for workshops that you own and you drive, because that's the most important things that matter to you. If there is 2 topics that you feel they could be merged, don't do that immediately. Sort of once we have the topics, you can then still come and talk to the 2 people and say, can't we merge those 2? So we're just going to move those sheets once we have them all. We can do that then. So it's going to be a bit of a marketplace. You can put your name in those you're interested in. You're going to see we have some rules afterwards. Doesn't mean you're actually going to be there, but you can indicate your interest. That's just interesting to hear or see who is interested in what subject. Good. So that's the process. And as I mentioned yesterday, it's nothing without some rules. So Caroline is sharing the rules and the principles under which this session operates.
Yes, so there are some rules. So that's called an open space, what you're going to leave. So there are some rules for an open space. And yes, and we've got them here. So the first one is whoever comes is the right person. So if you choose to go to a session, it's because you're driven to contribute. If you feel this session is just nice to be there, or you should be there because it looks good, this is not a good approach. You go wherever you feel you contribute. So what happens, even if you have 1 person, 2 person, that means those are the right person. You don't need to have a big group to be able to have significant work. That way you just work with motivated people and you avoid to have people that may be bored and could contribute somewhere else. So that is the principle number 1. Whoever comes is the right person. The second one, whenever it starts is the right time. You're managing your time. If you feel like you need to grab a coffee to have your brain working, you're welcome to do so. If you feel like you may want to continue the discussion maybe later on, that's also something that you can do. So you manage your time. Whenever it starts is the right time. You don't wait. You don't waste your time. So if you're there, you're in your room, you have the energy to start, you start. There's no wasting time in the open space. So that's the second principle. Third one, when it's over, it's over. What does it mean? It's not only that you need to be on time for the next round, it's also the other way around. If in 10 minutes you feel like whatever needed to be said has been said, then you're done and you're may go and contribute to another topic. So it's not such thing like, I really need to use all my 45 minutes to try to go there. So try to be the most effective as you can and take the most out of the time that you have. So that's the third principle. The first one, whatever happens is the only thing that did. So this is an open, and so this is, you are free and in charge of making things happen. So if you've managed to do a lot, that's great, that's your responsibility. And if you did not take any decision, you did not put your ideas either on the board or in the discussion, you've lost your opportunity. So this is just to say that's on you to make the best out of that, because after tomorrow, you're not going to be all here. So it's on you to take the responsibility to do the most, to propose. Don't be shy. If there is something that needs to be said, something that needs to be challenged, something that needs to be put, that's your opportunity in those conversations. So those are the 4 principles of an open space. Now there is one law as well. So law is really one that you should follow. And that goes with the next slide. And the law is called the law of the 2 feet. What do you think that means? It means you are free to go wherever you want. So you go to a session, and if you find this is not interesting to you or you can't contribute, this is a space of freedom. You have to move because your energy, your knowledge, your experience may be useful in another space. So that's the law of the 2 feet. It's not because you've put your name in a session that you have to be there for the whole time. And as Mark was saying, you've put your name maybe as the convener of the session, but then you don't want to be there. It's okay. You take your 2 feet and you move. The things are going to happen. If others have taken the opportunity to be there, they're going to lead on that. So that's really important. Again, this is a very valuable time, and we want to make the most out of it. So that's really an important law. And the last thing that we want to share is you will see that you will have different behaviors in the participants. You will have the bumblebees. The bumblebees are going to move from one session to another, and they're going to want to contribute in all of them, and they will want to make sure they make connection, then bring new ideas in one group or in another. So that's welcome. And you may have others that are butterflies. So the butterflies, they're taking it easy. Maybe they want to go for a coffee, maybe they want to just dream of something else, and that is also welcome. Again, as we're sharing, this is a space of freedom, but this is also a space of responsibility. So with that, you've got the rules, and it's the moment for you to build the agenda.
There's one obligation you have if you convene a session, if you propose one, and that is to make sure that latest by 8 o'clock this evening we receive a short report from you. We want to keep track of what you are discussing and proposing. On the tables you find a template, what you see here on the board, of what we would like to hear about what you've discussed. On the template there is a QR code, so we ask you until 8 o'clock tonight, doesn't need to be long, but to give us a feedback of what you've been discussing, what your findings were, and kind of what you think should happen going forward. So that's sort of an obligation, the only obligation you have as a convener. If you decide to leave your own session, which you have the freedom to do, hand that responsibility over to someone who stays in the session. Good. With that, we're going to collect the topics here, and once we have this agenda wall created, then we are ready to rearrange if that's still needed, but then go straight to work. We're not going to have any kind of official coffee break. Coffee is available. You manage your own time and your own breaks as you deem appropriate. And we see us again at 16:45 here. So please feel free, if you have a topic that you would like to convene and discuss, come and get a sheet, get the microphone, make your announcement, place it on the agenda wall, and we take the next 10 minutes or so to create that agenda together. Est-ce que tu as du scotch? Oui, j'ai du scotch. Non, le scotch. Non, ah ouais, juste pour ceux-ci parce que ils sont. Just to keep them flat. Yeah, yeah. Whenever it starts, it's the right time. People are going to sign up afterwards. You have what? One more? Huh? Let's start the advance. If you're ready, come and grab the microphone and announce your topic. Who is going to break the ice? So, we have the first announcement.
Okay, hello everyone. Can I see your arms? Can I see your arms? Everyone's lifting their arms? Excellent. Hi, I'm Jerome, working for GIZ, and I would propose the following Leapfrog session with the title, Developing a How-To for DPI Governance. So we had lots of different sessions about, we had the consensus building session with Brian. This morning we had a session on pre-competitive collaboration. And during these sessions, often we ask ourselves, but what is the step-by-step process? What is the manual? What are the guiding questions that we can ask ourselves to develop these governance models? How do we actually steer the process to end up with a functioning, inclusive governance model? And I would suggest having a little leapfrog session to think about these guiding questions, to think about the step-by-step process, and hopefully have a prototype of a how-to that we can share to kind of think about how to approach perhaps a scary process of bringing different stakeholders together.
Self-sticking, you just stick it on the wall.
Okay, hi, my name is Christian Benik. My title I'm proposing is using sandboxes to test the merger of Agile Data and DPI. I know nothing about sandboxes, but I've been reading about it. So I'm putting this up so that I can learn from people who know more about it with me, but also those who've been thinking about this concept of having a space, a safe space to test out all the things we've been talking about before we roll it out or before we actually put it out there. So trying to learn from our mistakes before and in a private space or in a controlled space before we expose the rest of the world to our work. Thank you.
Just self-sticking.
Hello, I'm back again. So my topic is system marketplace. So I'm coming from a capability background. So as Cassava Technologies, we are building AI factories across Africa. So we are saying we've got the capability to house your data, to house your application, to give you the internet connectivity. Bring your applications. Let's connect to the marketplace. Let's cross-pollinate the ideas. Let's advance your applications to reach more people. So we want to come up with a framework to say, how do we do that as Africa? Thank you. Or anyone else.
Who's next? It's self-sticking. Oh. Yeah.
Hello.
Anyway.
We will talk about Diaska. Maybe you heard about it. We would like to discuss with you what a network needs. What do you expect from a network? How can we use all these different tools to build a DPI ecosystem and bring the initiatives together, and how to collaborate in future in a better way? You want to add something?
Anything that you can give to the Diaska community, we are happy to take on. We want to get your insights, and of course, if there are any questions on what Diaska actually is, we hope to answer those in our session.
So we're going to propose something unexpected. So something about open source traceability. We would like to, as maybe some of you know, we are working on an open source traceability platform called Inatrace. And following the discussion that we've had this afternoon, we would like to think with you on how to put farmers first on this platform, because as much as the cooperatives have been targeted directly by Inatrace, the farmers per se have not. So how do we change that moving forward?
So I am suggesting to talk about farmer-centric data wallet. I am a bit surprised we have not talked about it yet, because at some point it was an idea floating around, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of pilots who have been trialed, and I'm wondering what are the lessons learned, why is it not scaling up? Maybe it's not working, maybe it is. I have a small interest in that because we're launching a small pilot ourselves with a bridge soon in Indonesia, so I would really like to learn from the community and maybe suggest that we do some lessons learned and sharing.
First or second row.
Hi everyone, I'm Greg from ITC. I would like to invite you to a session that I would be running with the other Greg on DPI ecosystem infrastructure. We have been working through a number of countries, really putting together building blocks, DPI building blocks, to collect farmers' data, to store the information, to run analysis, deforestation analysis, share data. And we'd love to go deeper with you, some experience, some of you working on data collection, having existing registries, to see whether the experience that we're putting together and that we want to deploy in other markets would work. So come to our session. Thanks.
Hello, I am Emily O, not Emily Ackerman. I work at Open Supply Hub, and I want to do a session on building consensus on the literal data that we are talking about. I think I mentioned this earlier, but people seem to have different ideas of what data means when they say that, and different ideas of what the level of access can and should be. So this would be a group, I would love stakeholders from basically everywhere. The more variety, the merrier. and basically getting into the real specifics. What data does everyone need of that? Not just what does everyone need, but also like what do individual stakeholders need? What level of access should be available to which data and how? And if time allows, how can and should these data connect together? So agreeing on the building blocks in advance.
Just put it wherever you like.
Yeah, okay, those who know me, I'm Ben Adom. The topic is the cost of inaction for countries on national data infrastructure. That is what countries are losing by not investing in this infrastructure due to duplication, disaggregation, and all kinds of things. So we want to get the stakeholders, we want to get the buy-in of both public and private, and we want to put numbers behind it to prove that, you know, this is what you are losing, or if you invest in it, this is what you'll be getting every year by building this infrastructure. So if you're interested, let's put our heads together and see what we can do.
Thank you. We have heard there exist a lot of digital tools which need to be shared and used by farmers. So my topic is demand-driven digital extension. How do we bring the digital extension to the farmers? How do they, how is the acceptability? So if you join this topic, you are going to use what we call Helios AI pilot project process. So this AI is a weather prediction forecast AI, which we are introducing to farmers in East Africa. So how is the process going on? So do you want to learn how to introduce this digital extension based on demand by the farmers? So please join the group, then we discuss it. Thank you.
I think I just want to provoke your minds a little bit. I feel like the agility in data systems often, I think, saves and benefits us program managers more than it benefits farmers. So if you agree with this statement, then please join the group that will be discussing a topic from data donors to data beneficiaries. So farmers, I think, have been donating data for the longest. We need to change that narrative that they become beneficiaries as well. So in this group, we'll be designing a reciprocal feedback mechanism for farmers in digital ag systems. So we'll basically be closing the loop where the systems that we put in place are very farmer or community centered for translating the farmer data into actionable agronomic and market feedback. So please, if this is something that you know interests your heart, then join the group. Thank you.
Okay, looks like I'm the last, but I hope I'm not the least. Okay, I'm trying to drive a consensus discussion around agricultural extension. Let's see how we can shift from being institutional, from cost-centered to value-based service ecosystems. I'm actually interested in seeing how we can scale extension service delivery as much as we have scaled production across different value chains, whether processing, marketing, providing all the technical support and everything that's needed. I think extension has been overlooked a little bit. So let's take extension service delivery further from just being a technical function to having them commit like an economic and institutional model. And I also think that they will serve to leverage the gaps between all the tools that are being designed and taking them to the farmer, and also spur adoption as well as sustainability. So if you think you are interested, it would be nice having you in the room.
That wasn't the last one, because I am. No surprise, mine is to do with communication. And I'm inviting you all to come and discuss how we maintain momentum of communication and collaboration that we draw from the connections we've made here as communities. So how do we keep this momentum going? What do we need to do virtually and in person over time, drawing on what exists already to keep this momentum growing and build this community of Agile Data and DPI?
I'm coming in at the last second here. I was hoping to see one come up where we could continue the conversation around applications of AI in this space. And I guess I work at the 10,000 foot level as a policymaker, and so I get asked all the time, what are the applications of AI to solve these problems? And I think there's been some really interesting reflections over the last couple of days about the interaction between kind of trust and human-centered design processes and engagement processes, and then new applications of AI coming into this space. So I don't quite have all of the session worked out, but if anyone wants to join a conversation to just work into that a bit more, we could potentially come away with some reflections or principles from the session. Thanks.
Still some last minute. If you still have a topic, you can still post that for the second slot. So that can be an evolving agenda, and you, before going into another session, come and see whether there are additional topics. If you would like to merge or move, talk to those people who have proposed it. You can still move it up or down, but otherwise we go to work. So we start with the ones here on this row, and shortly before 4 o'clock, the second row will launch, and we meet here at 16:45 for a closing of the day. But other than that, you're completely self-organized. You take things in your own hand. Come, make up your mind what you would like to do. You can put your name to indicate your interest, to flag that. But enjoy the afternoon.